Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and we've done our 6-film run. Today, very much like John Sayles, this is another personal one, but I'm picking Hal Hartley, the wonderful independent filmmaker with the late 80s, early 90s is really his purple patch. I think often imitated and inspired a lot of that quirky dialogue, small character films that are just a little bit off, very dry sense of humour. He's one of those writers that the actors aren't allowed to change a comma, let alone improvise or do their own thing. He had a stock company, people like Adrienne Shelley, Robert Burke, Martin Donovan, and his films, if you're that way inclined, are just absolutely wonderful. So this 6-film run is pretty much the 6 first films of his career. Again, not including his short films, which he's made a bunch of, and a lot of them are wonderful as well. But we're going to start with 1989's The Unbelievable Truth, with Adrienne Shelley, who's sadly no longer with us, and Robert Burke. And this is a 2-pronged film about a young girl who is undecided about her future, and she's also convinced the world is going to end. Every now and again she stops because she hears bombs. And Robert Burke, who's a mechanic who gets out of prison and comes back to the small town where he may have killed a couple of people, and just his reaction to other people of the town's reaction to him. And over the course of the film we slowly see Adrienne Shelley's character making more life decisions, making deals with her father, and more truth comes out of what actually happened with Robert Burke and the people that he supposedly killed. It's just a wonderful breath of fresh air. Again, repeated dialogue, but different people saying it. Very clipped, but very funny, and slightly odd off behaviour, but it just works within the world that Hal Hartley creates. Then we go to 1990 and Trust. This is a still from Trust, as you can see that's Edie Falco as well, who appeared in some Hal Hartley films too. In Trust, again, has Adrienne Shelley as the central character, who's just out of high school and she's pregnant and her boyfriend's abandoned her. He's the local jock, the star quarterback. And she falls into the company of Martin Donovan, who has a strange relationship with her father. He carries about a live hand grenade, just in case. And he is far too intelligent for the jobs that he has. He's always getting fired in hilarious ways from tech jobs. And the two of them form this kind of strange relationship. And again, it's how these two characters react to the world around them and their own relatives and families. Because Adrienne Shelley comes home, slaps her father, and her father drops dead. So that obviously changes her family dynamic and how her mother reacts to her. And again, it's just set in this wonderful, strange, real world, but also kind of off world, not in the Blade Runner sense. And it's just an absolute joy. Again, if you're that way inclined. Some people might watch Hal Hartley films and just not like them at all, and that's absolutely fair and fine. Then 1992, Simple Men. This is one of his finest films. And this is about two brothers, one played by Robert Burke, the other by Bill Sage, who are trying to find their father, who is a radical shortstop, who perhaps bombed a government building some years ago and he's on the run. He's still on the run for it. So they go on the road, they meet Karen Silas and Alina Lowenson, who again has appeared in a few Hal Hartley films. And again, it's a road movie, but it's also quite wonderful. Martin Donovan's in it as well as a very angry man who has lots of thoughts about modern music. Again, it's got a great score, which all Hal Hartley films do have, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And then 1994, we've got Amateur with Isabelle Huppert, Martin Donovan, Alina Lowenson, about a man who has amnesia. Isabelle Huppert plays a nymphomaniac ex-nun who's never had sex, and they get embroiled in the world of pornography and tech crime, and it's just an absolute blast. And then 1995, we have Flirt, which is kind of an experimental film. It's the same script, shot 3 times, just with different actors in different locations. One's in New York, one's in Berlin, and one's in Tokyo. The first one, it's about a flirt, essentially. And the first one's a straight man, the second one's a gay man, and the third part is a woman. But it's the exact same dialogue, exact same script, but just played 3 different ways. It's really playful and fun. Again, Bill Sage, Martin Donovan are in the New York section, and Hal Hartley's wife is actually in the 3rd section as the main character. It's just wonderful, playful, and a bit different. And then finally, 1997, for the last one in the 6-film run, it's Henry Fool, which is the first film, strangely enough, in the Henry Fool trilogy, which is Hal Hartley's longest film. It's about 2.25 hours. And it's about this irascible writer character who comes to live with this family, and the kind of slow, uneducated member of the family turns out to be a really good poet, but his poems are controversial and pornographic and dangerous. And Henry Fool, who is the irascible poet, who doesn't have much success, wants all the glory. And then this leads into a whole trilogy involving spies and espionage, and it gets really strange and odd in films 2 and 3. But Henry Fool, again, is a more contained. It's about families, and it's a wonderful satire on the art world, and culture and celebrity as well. So that's my 6-film run for Hal Hartley, a really underrated director in my opinion. But please let me know if you think Hal Hartley's got a 6-film run or a 2-film run, and hopefully you'll join me again for more episodes of 6-film runs. This is Soldier Ronan. from Solitron Films, saying farewell.